Hey you, glad you made it up the mountain tonight. I've got a little ritual for you here in my trusty old messenger bag, and you don't even have to bring the candles. See, some anniversaries call for cake and balloons. Others call for a long walk in the dark, a few strange words you don't understand, and maybe a friend you lost along the way. This one's about Tony, Michelle, and Owen. 3 names tied together by guilt, tradition, and something that only happens once a year. So settle in, because when you light crimson candles, you never really know who or what might show up.
Crimson Candles by Tom Levine. Read for you by Taylor Coan. Tony and Michelle drove over the mountain again. They held hands, but it was perfunctory, not even tradition so much as muscle memory. "You don't think he'll really show, do you?" Tony asked. Michelle's hand stayed limp in his own. "It doesn't matter. We still have to go. We still have to try." Tony figured she was right about that. If they did have any traditions, it was going to the mountain to see if Owen would show or not. It was an annual thing now. They'd been doing it for 5 years. By this point, neither of them really believed anything different would happen. But isn't that where all good stories begin, Tony thought. He tapped the brakes lightly as something darted in front of the headlights. "Did you see that?" Michelle was already leaning forward in the seat, squinting. "Something. Was it a squirrel?" Tony didn't answer. He didn't need to. Squirrels weren't that big. Earlier in their relationship, he might have pointed that out. To do so now would lead only to misery on both their parts, so he kept his mouth shut. He leaned back in the seat, not realizing until he did it that he, too, had been leaning forward. Michelle mirrored his movement, settling back into her bucket seat. Whatever the thing had been, it was gone now. "It looked white," Michelle said quietly. "Did it look white to you?" "A little bit," Tony said. "It was kind of fast, hard to say." He glanced at her. Michelle looked uncomfortable. "It was just some animal," he couldn't stop himself from saying. "Don't worry about it." That was the bit he should not have added. He could feel her scowling in the darkness of the truck. But Michelle didn't say anything. She did remove her hand from his and folded her arms. Tony returned his right hand to the steering wheel. "Have you ever told anyone we do this?" he asked after a long silence. "Not specifically. Some friends from school know that we go out on this night, but I haven't told them where or what we do." "That's good," Tony said, as if it mattered. "What about you?" "No," Tony said quickly. "Nobody." "Maybe this should be our last time," Michelle said softly. "I mean, 5 years? That's a long time." Tony did not answer, though he had the same thought. 5 years. That was a nice round number. A nice even anniversary. The world loved patterns. The world appreciated anniversaries, special dates and times, even as the broader universe could not care less. There was something about the calendar that kept the world going. 5 years. Surely that would be enough for Owen, if he was watching. They reached the base of the mountain 20 minutes later. It loomed tall before them, a dark mass, darker than the purple-black sky behind it. Tony found a dirt pile to park the truck and turned off the engine. "Are you sure you still want to do this?" Michelle nodded in the darkness. "Let's just go." "You sure you have everything?" He'd asked several times already, including at her house when she got into the car. "I'm sure." They got out of the truck and walked almost by instinct to something resembling a path winding up the mountain. Tony had a flashlight, and he knew Michelle had 2 more in the backpack she carried over her shoulders, but she didn't pull one out, and he didn't turn his on. It was part of the tradition, the anniversary. There was a certain way to do things, and finding their way in the dark to the top of the mountain was among them. They did not speak. They did not hold hands. They moved slowly at first, letting their eyes adjust to the darkness. Midway, along the path, they could see almost as well as if it were sunset. It happened every time this way. They never spoke of it to one another, yet somehow knew all the same. They also seemed to know, without sharing it, that if they came up one day before or one day after, this strange ability to see better in the dark would not happen. It was unique to this date and time. They reached the summit 30 minutes later. Wordlessly, Michelle hunkered to open the backpack. She set up the crimson candles in their particular place while Tony scanned the area for wildlife, park rangers, or anything to indicate that this was anything but just another spring night. Michelle finished quickly and sat cross-legged at one end of the pattern of candles. She gestured to Tony, who sat across from her in the same manner. "Right," she said. "Let's start." They each took a deep breath, held it a moment, then began to chant. Although they never practiced or rehearsed, all the words, older than the stars above them, came fluently. The strange syllables and archaic consonants sounded like animal gibberish even in their own ears, yet their mouths worked automatically. Halfway into the ritual, Tony knew it would be another bust. 5 years running, they had come here and tried to bring Owen forth, to beg his forgiveness for the accident, with no success. And tonight would be no different. He'd just completed thinking the thought when the candle flames burned blue. That was new. He glanced at Michelle, who frowned at this new thing. He wanted to ask her what was going on, could see she wanted to ask him the same, yet they did not stop the ritual. The temperature at the top of the mountain dropped precipitously. The warm spring air turned cold, bitter like a snowstorm. It pinched the hairs on Tony's arms and legs. He saw Michelle shiver. The candle flame turned a deep and secret violet Tony had never seen before. Not in a candle flame for sure, but anywhere else for that matter. Purple was not even the right word, but there was no earthly word for it. Twin tears fell down Michelle's face as she stared at the unearthly color. Only then did Tony realize he, too, was crying. Though not from joy, and they weren't tears after all. As the crimson candles flared their eldritch color, something else dripped down their faces, hot and fatal. The world loved calendars. It loved anniversaries. Owen did too.
Well, I guess Owen made his anniversary party after all, though I'm not sure Tony and Michelle will be sending thank you cards. Some people bring flowers to the grave, others bring themselves and hope for forgiveness. But there's a fine line between vengeance and forgiveness, little goblin. I guess Tony and Michelle are going to find out just how fine. Thanks for climbing up here with me tonight. Get home safe, keep your candles white, or maybe don't light them at all. And remember, it's after midnight somewhere.